Hello everybody, it's me Alex the Hunted, and this is a unscripted review of Pacific Rim Uprising. I just got out of watching it and I wanted to give my initial thoughts of it. And well, it's good. It's good, but it's nowhere near as good as the first one, and it's not as good as something like Kong Skull Island, but I would say it's on the same level as, say, 2014's Godzilla. It's good. There's a lot of good in it, but there is some definite flaws with it. Starting with the good, the CGI and the special effects are all really, really good. John Boyega's character is he's the best character in the movie, and he's one of the improvements of the first one, because the first one, apart from Mako Mori and the scientist cut Idris Elba and the scientist double act, the main character, I forget his name, he wasn't that good of a character. He was very vanilla. He didn't have much to him. But John Boyega in this one definitely has way more of a character, a lot more screen presence, and a lot more, just more character depth towards him. Other things that I definitely did like, I definitely like the story on this one. I like the first two thirds of the movie, and it has a really good twist in it. Where you think the movie's going to go one way, but actually it turns out the twist is it's something what you actually didn't see coming, and that's really really good. But then the last third of the movie, the climax of the movie, it feels a bit rehashed from the first movie, in a way. The climax of the movie feels very similar to the mid fight scene in the first movie, where it had like three kaiju's. You had two kaiju's versus a load of Jaegers. In this one, I mean, it's in the trailers. You have three kaiju versus four Jaegers. It feels very much like the first movie, the climax. And the other stuff I did like I did like how they gave us a Jaeger versus Jaeger fight. However, if you think that's the main thing of the story, you will be wrong, because it's not the main part of the story. That I don't know whether to go into spoilers or not, but it's not the main thing of the spoiler as a good Jaeger fighting an evil Jaeger. That's not the main part of the story. It's still about giant monsters fighting kaiju, and there is a very relevant message which I've seen quite a few times in a few action movies about drones, and this movie also tackles the drone thing, and it kind of does the same beats to quite a lot of movies about how drones are kind of evil and negative things, because drones can be, there's no human behind the drone sort of way. There's no real pilot. It's just someone on a laptop far away, that sort of thing. But yeah, there's some good stuff in here. That the characters, apart from John Boyega, there's these teenage characters, a group of teenage characters in this movie who really don't get much character development, and they're just teenagers. Basically, they are the teenage characters, and they're just not very interesting at all. Really, there's a good diverse group cast, but apart from the main teenage girl in this movie, there's all the others really don't have much to do. Really, I mean, there's one Russian girl in it who, kind of looks a bit like Scarlett Johansson, like a really young Scarlett Johansson. But anyway, like she has basically a free scene story arc with the main teenage girl, and that's it. And it's such a cliched one as well, because it's the typical, she doesn't like the new recruit. Oh no, she doesn't like her. And now 3 scenes later, now they're best friends. That sort of thing. That cliche we've seen a ton of times in the movies, but everyone has acted really well. There's no real bad acting in this movie. I mean, I think his name's Charlie Day, and the other guy from Torchwood. They're amazing. Like, they're just as funny as they were in the first movie. They have a great chemistry together, and there's some really good stuff that they do together. Not as much as the first movie. They spend more time of the movie apart than they do together, which is kind of a shame. And what other good stuff is there? I'm trying to think. The action scenes are good, but Here's the thing: the action scenes are really good. It's edited really well. You can tell what's going on. It's not like a shaky cam fest where you have no clue what's going on. However, I think they don't have the same they don't have the same impact and same awesomeness as the first movie. And I was thinking about it on the way home, why that is, and I think I figured it out, because in the first movie there was a lot of the fight scenes were shot at like a lower angle, and you definitely felt the weight and the impact of these giant robots fighting giant monsters. In the sequel movie, in Uprising, you don't get that sort of feeling. You don't get the feel of weight and size that you did in the first movie, and that kind of that kind of lessens the action scene, because you don't get the sense of scale as you did in the first movie. What other good? That's probably my main complaint about it. Actually, is that's with the action scene, is that sense of scale isn't there, and it kind of lessens the combat. It doesn't make it as amazing as the first movie. There's no like amazing standout moment like the first one. You know, it's not bad. This movie's not at all bad. I'm not saying it's at all bad movie, but compared to the first one, it's got a lot of flaws into it. And the first one, there was plenty of flaws in it. With what was going on, you could look past the flaws, and the movie was entertaining enough that you looked past them. In this movie, not so much. They do start to stick out a bit, and this is also a movie that's definitely made for a Chinese audience. If you watch it, like, there is a lot of Chinese just characters here, so that there's a lot of Chinese stuff in here, so that the movie would be allowed to be shown in China. There's a lot of that in that movie, and if you have a problem with that, it's not as bad. Then you're not going to enjoy this movie. It's not as bad as something like Independence Day Resurgence. It's nowhere near as bad as that, but it's definitely noticeable. And it's not as bad, but it's not great. It does definitely feel like as a lot of the Chinese cast is here just so that the movie can get shown in China. But that's a new market that's coming up. The Chinese film market is pretty damn huge. The reason we're getting a second Pacific Rim is because of China. What else is there good? What else is there in this movie I want to talk? Oh, there is this really weird, out of nowhere romance subplot with this one female character engineer girl who is in like 5 minutes of the movie. And it's kind of like a who's she gonna go with John Boyega or Scott Eastwood's character, and she's in about 5 scenes of the movie, and then all of a sudden there's this romance thing with it, and you kind of like she's such a non-presence in the movie that you're like, what? Where did this come from? Sometimes you can like, at first I thought, who the hell is this woman? And then I realised, oh, it's her. Okay then. Other things like, oh, if you're a Mako Mori fan from the first movie, you are gonna hate this movie, because what they do with Mako Mori comes off as, well, there's a reason she's not in any of the trailers, which is a real shame, because she's a really good character in the first movie, and and it's kind of disrespectful how she's treated in the sequel, and it's such a damn shame. But oh well, what can you do? I mean, I would definitely say this is definitely a recommended movie. It's not bad, but it's nowhere near as good as the first one. A little disappointing in some areas, but it's definitely I would definitely say go see it in the cinema. It's definitely a cinema movie, but I wouldn't go the whole IMAX 3D expensive to go see this movie. It's just a good, it's a good matinee basically. It's a good spend, how much movie ticket is, well, about £9 now. Spend about £9, you'll enjoy it. You won't regret seeing it. But if you think it's nowhere near as good as the first one, and I definitely would say it's a slight disappointment. But that's what I kind of had that feeling looking at the trailers. But that's actually another thing I realized. I've just remembered and thought about in the movie. The first movie was directed by Guillermo. I can't say his name. Guillermo del Toro. That's as close as I'm going to get to say his name. And it definitely had that style, his style, imprinted on the movie with like all the scenes with Ron Perlman and stuff. In this movie, there's none of that in this movie. There's none of that Del Toro weirdness or just extravagance in it. It's very, there's no like weirdness to it. It's pretty much either set on it's either in a city or a military base, and there's no weirdness. Like in the first movie, like the scenes with Ron Perlman, they were amazing because that set and that world around it was great, and there's none of that in this movie as well. And that's a real shame as well because there could have been something good. There's a lot of this movie does have it brings in a lot of new ideas and new things, which what a sequel should do, and then does nothing really, that doesn't do much with it, and then it's gone, and then they just go back to sort of stuff from the first movie, which is it's kind of got a bit of that sequel problem to it, where there's not much new in it. There's a lot of retreading of the first movie, which is it could have been it's not bad. It's definitely a good movie. It's definitely an enjoyable movie, but you know I'm not as pumped up or as thrilled as I was with the first one. Like I came out of the first one really pumped up with a huge smile on my face. Coming out of this one, I was just like, it's all right. You know, it's that sort of feeling to it. It's good. It's good. I would say it's not a full IMAX 3D price movie, but I would definitely recommend going see it. Recommend to go see it. Just a normal 2D screening will be fine. And anyway, tell me what you think of Pacific Rim Uprising if you've seen it in the comments below. Tell me what you thought, and as always, don't forget to subscribe and all that good stuff. And I'm Alex the Hunted, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.